right up and down, but now it says orientation is locked. Rotate device back.
Oh, I like that rotator.
No.
Oh, stop it.
There's a little tone in there. I
Yeah,
can
there
leave
was
now.
a little tone
Then let me
there.
leave.
Oh. Bounce back. No. Cancel. And cancel.
Can you hold that?
It's probably doing like this. How's that? YouTube or camera, I'm not sure which, but here we go. And it's a matter of whether or not you can hear me or not. See if anybody's shown up at 5:30. It is day one recap, and boy, are we tired. Hopefully you can hear this. I've added a microphone. Hello, Matt. Can you hear us? We've added a microphone. It should be louder. Hey, there we go. Good. All right. Day one. Day one consisted, we had an appointment with John Pergandy. Eric. And heads are ordered, buddy. We got to John Pergandy, and we got who was the head of R&D, and we got length about the D7 irons, the D7 hybrids, the D7 fairway woods, and the driver. Also, we took a little more in-depth look at the Cortex, and they just released yesterday, if you guys were on the Twitter, that the Wilson blades, the staff professionals, have gotten released. Now these are the ones that Gary Woodland and Brendan Steele are playing, and they had a little bit of input into it. Super duper clean looking blade. The Cortex, of course, I did the review, you guys have seen it. It's out there. They did a little more in-depth detail, and then we went through the D7s. And Paul, I asked for you the difference, and he explained it. It is sitting on my computer right this second, being crunched from what it was into something that will go on YouTube sometime tonight. So now here's the difference. Wilson has always been in a meeting room that has been off of the main floor. It's probably from a cost perspective or whatever, and I would imagine that the fact that TaylorMade wasn't in there allowed a lot of people to, experience more room space. So they basically took up a lion's share of the driving range, the indoor driving range, and let people hit, and they had their little offices set up. Quite a neat little deal. They're still taking their baby steps in order to get out onto the main part of the floor, and I like that. That's a very conservative business approach while still getting the name out and still looking good. So that was a good thing. That was the first couple of hours. Then we ran into our friend Alvin, who is now with Crank Golf, and Crank uses switch grips. Switch grips was something unique. It was so unique I did a video about it. Now, a year or two ago, Switch Grips had this thing where you put an underlisting on and you could turn and you would switch out grips. Completely horrible. However, what they've done is they've switched models, and now they have putter grips, rubber grips, multi-compound grips, corded grips, and they all have a molded ring on the very butt cap so that you can screw in a weight to counterweight your clubs. We're a fan of counterweighting, and they've been able to put up to 20 grams into a piece this big, and you can get it put into the back of the clubs for counterweighting. Now, they have the biggest thing that really caught my attention was, other than that damn helicopter again, TaylorMade is not here this year. You are correct. They have about that big around. They have a putter grip that's probably about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches in cross section, and it's the shape of an octagon, so that you can hold it normally. Then if you're a 2-thumbs putter, that you could get underneath of it, and the 2 thumbs would sit on the side flats, and if you were a claw grip, it had a bit of a graphic so that you could grab it and it'd be easy to grab. Plus, it had the ability to be counterweighted. Then they had a standard, what I would call a jumbo soft grip, and their new model, which was very exciting, was a standard size grip that had a smooth, rubbery, tacky feel. And what I said is, you know, for all those you guys that are a little older, the old Ping grips, it felt like an old Ping grip. Again, that you can counterweight. That's the big deal, is the counterweight. Now, they also had in full swing grips, they had the rubber grip, which had their version of a velvet-like kind of grip, then a multi-compound grip, which was corded in the back, rubber in the front, and had an extraordinarily aggressive pattern. And then they had a regular corded grip where the cord was laid in the rubber a little bit more, so that when it wears, you know, your hands can get used to it getting more coarse, as opposed to blistering you up right away. Then, and finally, they had a regular grip that didn't have any back weighting if you didn't like it. Now, the last part of that is that they also had a rainbow of colors, you know, between yellows and blues and pinks and oranges and purples and reds and, you know, just all kinds. Again, I'll be putting that out. It was a very good video, and we're going to be able to put that out. The next one is, we went by Even Roll. I know somebody was asking me about Even Roll, and they have 4 new models. Two of them which are a training model, and it has a huge offset. I got to meet Garen Reif himself.
Stephen just asked that.
There you go, big boy. Got to talk to Garen Reif himself. He had this big offset putter, which he calls, it has a training mode and a playing mode. And personally, it sounds like, you know, he made this putter and he was like, oh, this looks neat, we can make a trainer out of it. And all of a sudden somebody said, hey, I'd really like to use it because, well, I'm making putts with it. And that's what they did. So they have a cast version of it, and they also have a milled version of it. The milled version is slightly less offset because the whole thing is milled. So instead of needing a block of steel like this to mill from, you need a block of steel like this to mill from, and all of that extra is basically waste. So you really, you know, so it's a little more pricey. They also came out with a upgraded couple of models. What they have is, one's called a black model, and it's a black shaft, black head, and it will come with a black grip. They added onto it. They all feel very, very good. Another add-on is they added into their grip selection. They have kind of a rubbery grip that it's broken off in squares, and the squares have patterns that do like this all the way down. And it gives it a really neat texture, a little firmer. And what they have now is called the gravity grip. It's a little bit longer grip this way, and wider is not so much. And they have a steel rod that runs down the bottom of it to put more weight into your fingers. Seems to be a pretty good little an item. I think it's a grip that you'll probably see in OEM putters going forward. At least that's the hope. Okay. One that I'm kind of we'll call it an infatuation just because of the story, is called T-Square. T-Square putters. You need to look those up. T-Square putters is another milled putter. It is a high-end putter. It's going to be about a $500 putter. And it's 100% milled, and each putter is custom ordered. All right. So what we would have is a couple of stock samples, and then you pick out the colors that you want, if you wanted naming, that kind of stuff, and a grip, and it gets in there, and you can get your toe hang, you can get your face balance, and get, you know, all those things sorted out. Now, you know, you say, well, Jim, what's different than any other expensive putter that tells you could do that? Well, the really interesting part here is that it's a 17-year-old kid that is starting this company. And I met him, and he's a very well put together kid. He's very strong thinking in the head. He was a good golfer, and he thinks he's got something in here. I got to putt with a few of them, and they're very, very soft. It was very akin to like a Scotty. It felt really, really good. And they have a plethora of grips that you can select from as well. So it's it's just a one and done kind of putter. When you get yours, it's yours alone, and then that's it. The Flight Scope, did a video with Flight Scope. Flight Scope has added in a few things. They now have what's called a multicam edition, and it's on what they call their video app, and it will hold 3 camera positions. So as long as I have something like what you're watching now off of an iPhone or an iPad, something along that line, I can have a video from here, a video from here, and even a video from here if I wanted to. And then you could have all that in the video app, or I could have 2 videos sitting like this and all your information sitting right here. And the layout is really, really cool. So that should be an added thing. So it's an app I have to get for the computer. It's already on the iPad. Now, they also introduced what was called an environmental edition. So for instance, and I used again in the situation, let's say you're in the Upper East right now and you're going to make your trip down to Myrtle Beach to do a golfing vacation. You can set the Flight Scope to act like you're in Myrtle Beach, and whether or not your greens are elevated, that kind of stuff for chipping. And then that way you can go in there and play a round of golf or get distances, so when you go down there you're ready to rock and roll. That's just one application, but that's what it's for. Keep going.
Steven says the build version is the ER1TS I like. Sorry, Steven.
Yes, it is.
Maybe they should be doing the ER2 and the torsion putter.
Well, the ER2 is I think that was their most popular one, and they did do some addition to that, and I'm gonna have to go back and revisit that one again, because I do like that particular putter. And I like that part of company. I like where they're going with it. Mizuno. I went and stopped by the Mizuno booth, and the Mizuno has now the ST190 and the driver fairway wooden hybrid, and they also have the JPX 919, and there's just so many to know from. They have 919, they have a pro model, they have MPs, 2 different kinds, and there's some pro models. Left-handed stuff, what I did is I hit a wedge, 919 JPX, and I hit the 190 driver. And I have to say, mind you, it's off of a mat that gives a little bit, so if you don't go down and get it, you hit basically a skimmer. But the wedge flew very, very high. I had a 58 degree, and I couldn't keep it off the ceiling. It was just funnier than all get out. But it was solid, and that's really the big deal. It was very, very solid. The 919 was extraordinarily solid. It had the Dynamic Gold 105, so it was right in my wheelhouse. I was able to get good contact with it. Again, very solid. Exactly what you would expect from Mizuno and their grain flow forging. You know, it shouldn't have been a surprise that these were solid clubs, or, you know, it's not like a miracle, oh my God, they're better than they were before. No, they were an excellent club beforehand. Now, and the expectation hasn't changed, except for it's a more forgiving forged style in the JPX. So I really like that. The driver, everything that you've been hearing about the driver, I would say is true, right? Instead of that obnoxious blue color that only a handful of people like, now it is this black color, and it has the carbon top on it. You know, it has the weave that you can see on everybody that has the carbon top. And there are 3 models. One with slider weights, I believe that's the G model, has slider weights and an adjustable neck so that you can really tweak it in. Then there's a pro model that may only have 1 weight, and then the one I had, which is basically all it did was change loft lie characteristics because it was a lefty version. Very solid sounding, right? And it comes in, the stock shaft is the Atmo shaft, the black Atmo shaft. So I think going forward, we're going to have to watch out for Mizuno, because it looks to be a really, really nice setup. Wind, 2 more grip companies. Wind is not going to be adding too much to their lineup except in a putter grip. All right, they took the dry tack from the Full Swing and that texture and that feel, and they put it into a putter in different colors, a red, a black, and a kind of a bluish color, and the grip is what it is. They took less taper out of the bottom end of their the mid-size grip. It's a little bit bigger, and so you'll notice that a lot of the trend in grips now is not to taper but to go bigger, so that bottom hand has a little bit more to hold on to. And that was it was very short and to the point, but they had a pretty good run. That Dri-Tac's a pretty nice grip, so that's their change for the year. And then we went and stopped by Super Stroke. Super Stroke is going to be changing their model a little bit into the, what they call that, the X-Traction, or the traction, like a traction grip. So what does that mean? Well, in the design of the grip, normally in Super Strokes it's a softer, got a tack to it type of grip. Well, at the top of the grip, at the top of the butt side of the grip, it has kind of a rubbery compound at the top, so that when you put your backhand and you lay your thumb on first, it kind of gives you more traction, i.e. the name, more traction. And in this one, there's a more pronounced sewing together of the outer layer, and it's creating a more pronounced spine, right? And then the rest of the material is the same. And they are also going to have two more full swing grips that are softer. I truly wasn't impressed with it, but the rubber grip that they had there was very, very good. And now what's going to be different here in going with this model is, going backward, is that when you bought the Super Stroke grip, you bought a weight that came with it, and that was the weight that you got. Well, now what they're going to do is you're going to buy a putter grip without a weight. It's much like a Legacy, except that it'll have a cap on the back, and then we can put in the proper grip at an added cost so that you get the right weight in there. So basically what it does, it falls onto me to go get a handful of weights, and then we put the right one in the back, and then you can screw it down, and then that goes with you. And that's what we saw. Now, we did see a couple other things, but I haven't fully investigated them, though. Sun Mountain in what's called... Well, hey, how about that? We're on the same page, Matt. We went by, it's called Finn Motorsports, I believe is what they called it, and it was a Sun Mountain spin-off. This thing looks like the Batmobile. So it's got a regular tire in the front, and the bag shoots off in front of you as you're holding onto it like this. It's in front of you here. And then it's all electric in the back, and you're holding onto it and you're riding it like a motorcycle. And I guess this thing goes. Good for 2 rounds of golf. It's battery powered, 2 rounds of golf. And the only reason why we didn't investigate it further is because the booth was packed. All right, everybody was digging on this particular this ride. And, even there was one that was called a fat tire, and the fat tire because it was basically a smooth tire this big around, and it was a scooter that you sit in, just like I'm sitting now, and you have your handles here, and the bag was behind you, in a cooler and whatnot. I mean, it's just as cool as it could be. But the one that's making all the noise is the one from Sun Mountain. I'm going to try and get over there with a rep, because Devin is down here, and maybe we can get in there and maybe get a quick video. That would be really neat. So there was that one. Click Gear? Didn't see it. I haven't seen Click Gear. Normally they have been down here, but I didn't see them this year. Being how that they're actually a company from overseas, I don't know, honestly. And we did a lot of walking around, more down towards the equipment side of it. We walked by a bunch of people that we knew. We just had so much going on. We saw all that. We just didn't have time to stop and say hi to most of them. That's tomorrow. Tomorrow I get Sean Toulon, and all of those Odyssey putter shaft questions are going to get asked, and hopefully we just wear him plumb out. And then I have a couple more meetings I have to attend that, if they pan out, we'll have some really good news for you guys going forward. And then it's a matter of going to see all the new exhibits, and then visiting some folks. We got a new level to go see, and probably stop by a few other folks that we do business with normally, and then go try and drop in and see some other folks that we've not seen. Learn a little bit more, as the case may be. So anything out there, fellas, you interested? Have you been paying attention, watching the Golf Channel? What's been going on?
Not myself, not of work, says any putter with adjustability besides Ping adjustable grip.
Not that I've seen. Normally once you get it, and Ping did have that thing where you twist it and you could move the length and the whole 9 yards. But no, I haven't seen anything like that at all. Anything else?
Matt said his new Callaway driver was on a lot today.
Oh well, it's getting a lot of press. It's it's the one that truly has a story with the AI and all that stuff. And Callaway's probably throwing a lot of marketing dollars at it, so you're probably going to see that quite a bit.
Matt says thanks for your, Paul says thanks for your time.
No problem, Paul. Spread the word. Maybe we can do this a little more often.
Have you seen Game Golf? Paul wants to know.
I have not seen Game Golf. We actually went by and saw the Arcos. We went by Arcos just to make sure that they were there, and they are there, and so we can stop in and talk to them a little bit. Game Golf is virtually the same thing. We've come to find out I had a couple companies on my list, one being Tactical Golf. It says it was in this booth area, and we walked right around it in a circle, and they're not there. So sometimes they don't. Sometimes these companies say they're coming and then they back out, or it could have been weather holding them back. You just never know. Anything else? Okay, guys. Well, not too bad. About 25 minutes. Robin and I are going to go catch up with our friends at the ICG. That is the International Club Makers Guild. This is my plug for them. International Club Makers Guild. It is a international group of people from here all the way around to here again, and they talk about club fitting, club repairs. It's a good group. It has a certification process if you're so inclined, and if you go to ask, they have, there's a forum in there. It's a private forum to keep things, private. And Asia, Ireland, Netherlands, Germany, and the U.S., they're all over the place. And definitely, if you're interested in this kind of stuff and you're going to take it the next step, those are the guys that you would want to see. So if we got nothing else, guys, we're going to go put this stuff up and go meet with some friends and start this process all over again. And again, let's see your scores. Go